Well, folks, it's been about 4 or 5 days or something like that since we did the last logs video. And just the way things work out around here, because I don't work my colt every day. That's on purpose. Now, the reason I'm standing out here is because what I'd like you to watch is when he goes in the corral, he already knows something's up because we're up here. So this is like the classroom. He gets close, he's like I used to be. He just started getting twitchy because he don't want to go to school. But anyway, what happens is he's had those days to think about this, and I believe that horses think about things that you show them. And then after a day or two, they decide yes or no, whether they like it or want to do it or not. Well, obviously, you're going to teach them to tie down cattle by themselves, so the like it part, you got to go through that. But what'll happen is if he ain't buying this deal, then I'll have a hard time getting his feet to move. If he's onto it and says, got it, then his feet will move pretty nice. And you got to understand, this isn't up to me. This is up to him. He gets to make this choice. So I'll take him on in and do what's known by my friend John as a go-to. I'm going to walk over the logs, and that's how we started the last time, if you'll remember. And that's to set this horse up mentally. Yeah, I'm just going to ask. He's already step positive. Negative. Now we're between logs. Well, I went through this last time, so he can make it over to the next log. Keep an eye on his ears, especially his right ear, and it'll tell you what he's thinking. So now, we'll just go to work. If you watch my left hand, I keep giving the rein back, because this is the bosal. Bump the head over. Now I'm going to ask him, you need to know, that's going into pressure. You need to yield to pressure. Take your hindquarter with you. Now we're going to connect the dots from the front end to the back end. I'm going to speed that hindquarter up a little bit. I keep bumping because I can tell he's thinking of walking forward, but if you'll notice my hand, this isn't done like this. It's done like this so you can have more release. Right ear. Right ear. He'll search for it. If he bumps him like that, that's a good thing, because then he starts paying attention. There was one small fraction of what Linda Tellington Jones came up with that made sense, till they broke out their bucket of bits. But she understood about the hoof touching a pole and how they think. Find your rhythm, is what I'm saying. There. My right hand isn't moving. I got to get that hindquarter again. Watch my right hand. I'm on this side of the eye, so I don't need to send my lead rope out until he gets stuck. Then when he does, I'm going to wake him up now because he knows what to do. Now the game's on. That's the first time I've snapped the rope at him this whole thing. Pay attention. Here it comes. Open hand, loose rope. pressure, release. Asking, direction, impulsion. Step to the hip, direction, impulsion. I bring my hand back so I can keep tipping that nose there. The hind quarter made it on its own that time. There. Now, take a break, drop your head. Now we're going to go the other way. The other way means it's a brand new deal. That's the way you have to look at it. Don't take anything for granted. Direction, impulsion. Thinking of stepping over. Here it comes. Now when you work with a gait, it's just like when you're side passing a horse. When you turn your foot out and ask that horse to side pass, when it's all over, that's all you need to do. You shouldn't have to keep thumping on them to get them to side pass. And if you've got your foot prepared and your seat bone right, they side pass until you sit up again. Because you'll wear yourself out over a period of years if you don't get them to look for what the right thing to do is. You can watch. Another reason for the logs is you can watch where the foot lands and it's something tangible. Now I'm in between the logs. We've raised the bar. My hands are below my belt. I'm about to go to work. When I raise my hands up, I need to know in my mind that he's looking at that log depending on which direction I want to go. And here I go. Reverse is not the answer. Going into pressure is not the answer. Correct. Here it comes. Here it comes. Now remember, I don't talk to horses. I'm speaking out loud because of the video. It's a feel that I'm after. I've offered a pretty good deal here. And I keep offering a good deal, and then I'm not going to offer a good deal. I'm going to use the tip of my lead rope, which is the spur, remember? Now, here's the good deal. There's the direction. Here's the impulsion. He knows what to do. Right hand quiet. You don't need the spur. On to the next log. Here it comes. Now here's the part of the horse that you need to understand. The hind, when his head gets up high, now he's starting to wonder, do I need to get irritated or do I need to move? Well, doesn't matter to me. Open hand. Reward. Skull goes down, horse is fine. Skull stays up, horse is still processing, we'll call it. So how much is too much? When do you quit? Well, this is what Pat does. This is what I do. This is how much. I can do more of this because I had to take him through the tunnel a couple times. In other words, he got a little bothered. Well, that's the maturity thing. That's one reason I'm not riding him. Now, I'm talking to him right now. See how the head came up? It's time to leave. There's the attitude. There's the colt. Talk to the feet. Get him moving. Watch his head bobbing now. This isn't where you put a tie down on a horse. This is where you take him through the tunnel. Now, you know, in San Francisco in the 49ers, when they all headed for the gold rush, a whole lot of them came right into the San Francisco Bay. And where Alcatraz is now used to be called Wood Island, but they cut all the wood off to put in the ships because they could take the ship real close to the island. And they used the wood for cooking and getting across the country. And they also, when the ship was empty, after they'd empty their cargo, before they left again, they would take that green wood and go down in the bottom of the ship and build a fire on a metal plate. And it'd make all kinds of smoke. Then they'd get outside the ship and they could see where there were any cracks because the smoke could be coming out the side. And plus it killed all the vermin, the fleas and the rats. But the interesting thing to me was all those ships, when they came in with all those people, what happened was, at the peak of the gold rush, the crew, the captain, and all the passengers, they would abandon ship. The sailors would head for the gold fields. All right, so now you got a bay full of empty ships. And a big part of Frisco was what's called the mud flats because of the tide and the distance between where you could actually have a town. So it was a lot of mud. So what they did was they took the ships apart, laid the planks down, made boardwalks. And you see before the earthquake and the fire, there was a lot of houses that had the main mast as the weight-bearing beam in their home. They literally built their houses out of the ships. And that's always been kind of ironic to me. And we always hear about, we Americans, all we hear about is the gold rush. Well, the gold, since it's based on greed, changed a whole lot of pieces of country. Alaska had its own gold strike. Canada had a big gold rush. And you talk to a Canadian and he'll tell you a story about how the gold rush happened, and a lot of people came up from the United States and then they either bought ranches or provided beef for the mines. Well, it's the same thing that happened in California. That's what changed the state. Now you go to Alaska and everything had to be hauled up there. So a lot of people got rich, but it was about gold mines. You go to Australia, they had a gold rush. Changed the dynamics of the country. The moral of this story is, for you folks that are ranching in Nevada, beware of the gold mines. Because when gold is gone, the only thing left is water. And water is what's really going to dictate this whole thing. Now, I enjoy the part of the conversation, of the horse. I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bothered, I'm nervous, I'm whatever. Well, that's youth. Because if I'm standing on this ground and I'm not kicking that horse in the belly or pulling on his head, I'm going to have that much more of a sensitive horse when I get on him. He's going to need to know about everything he needs to know before I get on. And then the day that I get on him, I guarantee I will video it. And I'd bet you, hell, a cheeseburger and fries that he's just going to walk off. Now, I'm standing in front now. The pressure's only coming from my left hand. Now I'm going to step over to the left eye. Pressure's from my right hand. Into pressure, unacceptable. Don't back up, you'll hit the log. Right eye. I'm picking up the energy with my right hand. I'm just getting him to move. There, he steps on his own cornet band. All right, now switch. Left eye. Right eye. That's why you use round poles. This saves you a whole lot of time, folks, because if you don't have these, you can do this, but you'll be all over the dang county. So this is just another thing I came up with to save a bunch of time, and it gives the horse and the human a visual. Here it comes. Changed my mind. Talking. Left eye. Left eye. Choice. Brace. Pressure. Release. Right eye. Left eye. Here it comes. Now, you know, in the history of the horse, folks, here's a little trivia. Almost every horse I ever work with is either really good on the left side or really dull on the left side, because that's the side the human's always on. So it's on the human when they're really dull. It's because you made them dull. So now he's bracing up on the left side. That's the side I tie the halter on for when I brush him. I start there. So I'm working with, I'm going to nip this in the bud until I get it even. Now, for those of you that aren't in the ranching world, what we do when we're tying down cattle is we'll be down there on the ground working on a cow or giving it a shot or whatever, and for whatever reason, we've got the rope tied off, but we need to move our horse over. So you can be sitting down with the knee down, then take your hand on the get down rope, or even the lariat when you get them good, and send them over. That's what this is about. Or send them the other way. If you need an angle, like I've sent horses over sideways, I keep sending them. And now, if you can imagine the hind legs this way, the rope's there. As the horse side passes, I can roll this critter over if I've got to do a foot rot or a bad eye or something. So you do it without having to undo everything. So this is based on a ranch horse, is what this is about. Now I'm just going to show up on that left eye and ask this horse to move. And compared to the other day, you'll notice I've got that distance thing. I told you I'd be in the middle. I want to see how much I need to do to get this horse to side pass. Increments. Here it comes. Here it Now please note that you can get the hindquarter without going all the way back there. You can get the hindquarter without throwing your lead rope all the way back there. All you got to do is tip that nose and put your energy all on one side and you'll move the hindquarter over. This is Hackamore school. And if I've got some old dog dink, I'll use my flag on this if I have to. But I don't have to use it on this one. This is a clean slate. And for that school of thought that you got to have a stick with a string on the end of it, I'll guarantee a horse knows when you don't have that stick. Watch his muscles. He's thinking right now. Here it comes. I need you to move, partner. Here. You're fine. Now, this is all done with an open hand. So this is the feel. That's what you're witnessing. That's what it's about, is I'm transitioning from mechanical to a feel. And if I can keep that going with this horse and teach it everything I need to do with my groundwork homework, I got a year. And which reminds me, I got to kind of clean the barn out. I've had people get a hold of me and say they don't have 5 years to train a horse. Well, okay, let me start over. If I get some pus-gutted 10-year-old dink, and the horse too, and it gets sent to me in a snaffle bit, and the owner wants it back in a Western bit. Because I tell him, if your horse is 9 years old and you're going to send it to me, it's coming home in a Western bit. Because you're going to be riding Western, right? Okay. 60 days, tops. 99% of the horses. You can fix this whole thing in 60 days. When I mentioned 5 years, I'm talking about making a spade bit horse. Now, we started working with this horse the day after he was weaned. Really actually doing something. So, I've already got, he's 2 now, so I got 3 years to go. Get it? So if you think about it, the foundation, if it's solid, in 2 years, a year and a half, I'll have him in the spade. Well, that's a 5-year program, but not every horse I take is a 5-year program. Thank you.